Alright, so this is the second lecture of lecture series. The first lecture was last year, I guess, in January this year. It was Demystify DeFi, which is already available on YouTube. This is the second lecture. So the lecture is all about EVM and opcodes. Okay, so uh, I'm Pradyuman. I am currently fourth year chemical undergrad, and this is Geete. This is also fourth year Blocksock member. All right, so let's start. So today's agenda, what we are going to talk about is EVM, uh, Ethereum Virtual Machine. Then we are going to talk about what are smart contracts, what are opcodes. So like these are named as opcodes, not OP codes. Okay. After that, what is bytecode, and then after having discussion about all four things, we are gonna interact with a smart contract on opcode level. How and EVM actually understands when you interact with any smart contracts on opcode level. So we are gonna like deconstruct whole thing and going to work with it. All right. So let's start. So what is EVM? So EVM is a complex dedicated software virtual stack that execute contract bytecode and integrate into each Ethereum node. Okay. So Ethereum is a stack based machine. Okay. So uh, who is like कौन कौन स्टैक बेस्ड प्रोग्रामिंग से फेमिलियर है लाइक स्टैक पता है क्या होता है लाइक डीएसए में आता है एक टॉपिक स्टैक बिफोर लिंक लिस्ट ओके सो स्टैक बेस्ड प्रोग्रामिंग इज समथिंग मैं जल्दी से एक्सप्लेन कर देता हूँ ताकि तुम्हें कॉम्प्लेक्स ना लगे. तो स्टैक बेस्ड प्रोग्रामिंग में एक स्टेट होता है. सो द टॉप मोस्ट लेयर, द टॉप मोस्ट एलिमेंट ऑफ स्टैक इज द स्टेट ऑफ स्टैक. ओके, stack based programming works on the principle of LIFO, last in first in last out basically. ठीक है, FILO. So whatever goes into the stack will come at last from the stack. Okay, so okay, yeah. So consider this as a stack. All right, whatever going into the stack, let's say we have three elements into the stack, and then we will pop the stack. Whatever is the last one gets first out. So it works on the principle of LIFO, last in first out, or FILO, first in last out, because the first one is the last one to get out of the stack. So this is how stack works. So Ethereum is a stack based virtual software. So why it is virtual? What? Alright. So वर्चुअल मशीन्स के बारे में कितनों को पता है? लाइक किसी ने यूज़ किया है अपने विंडोज़ के साथ वीएम वेयर के अंदर लिनक्स चलाना, डीबियन बेस्ड सॉफ्टवेयर. सो वर्चुअल मशीन होती है कि एक सेपरेटेड इन्वायरमेंट. ओके, सो देर आर टू काइंड्स ऑफ इन्वायरमेंट. फर्स्ट इज डॉकर इन्वायरमेंट, अनदर इज वर्चुअल मशीन. ओके, सो वर्चुअल मशीन इज यू हैव an existing OS, you create another OS on top of that OS, and that the OS that you have created will use all the resources of the parent OS. Okay, but it doesn't affect the parent OS. Okay, whatever happened in this operating system happens in this operating system. It will just use all the resources from the parent operating system. So Ethereum is a virtual machine, which means to run an Ethereum node you need a parent OS. All right. EVM is a software framework that allows developer to construct Ethereum-based decentralized application, basically dApps. So on top of Ethereum, what you can do, you can create dApps using smart contracts. All Ethereum accounts and smart contracts are stored into this virtual computer. So we talked about this virtual machine. So this virtual machine is actually an OS. So what makes an operating system an operating system? It has a memory, it has some storage, and it is based on some logical programming language. So here the logical programming language is stack. It has RAM, it has ROM. All right. So in Ethereum there are accounts and smart contracts. So in Ethereum there are two types of accounts. So like if you want to differ between Bitcoin blockchain and Ethereum blockchain, Bitcoin blockchain only has accounts based system, accounts based uh, accounts on, and EVM only has two things: accounts based model and smart contract based model. Okay, so if you want to summarize all about EVM, so a EVM is Turing complete. So a Turing complete means a machine, if we provide that machine enough resources, it can do anything, it can compute anything. Okay, so that what Turing complete means. Like if you want to know more about what a Turing complete machine is, you can like read about Alan Turing's paper about Turing complete machines. After that, EVM is a distributed ledger. What distributed ledger means is EVM works on blockchain technology. Okay, so ledger means you can consider ledger as a paper list. Okay, so let's say I distribute 5 papers to bunch of people, and then I have another paper. I'm gonna just uh, name some fruits. All right, so if I'm gonna say mango, all those 5 people are gonna write mango on that paper. Then I'm gonna say orange, all those 5 are gonna write orange on that paper. Okay, now someone comes, takes my paper, crumbles it and put it into the dustbin. Okay, so my paper is gone, but the data which I distributed to all other people is still there. So that's what is a distributed ledger is. Everything that happens on the blockchain is stored in a lot of computers. That's why it is distributed. Okay, uh, and blockchain is deterministic, EVM is deterministic. So what a deterministic means is whatever input you provides to EVM, you will always get the same output. Okay, that's what deterministic means. It's like if you have created a simple function in C++ which says add 2 numbers, so whenever you provide 1 and 2 as an input to that number, it will always give you 3. All right, that's what EVM is. EVM is deterministic. For a particular input, the output will be always same. All right, then after that, Ethereum is isolated. So what isolated means is I talked about a virtual machine and a parent computer. Okay, I mentioned one point that whatever happens on that virtual machine doesn't affect the parent computer. Okay, so in virtual machine, whatever computation it is going on, whatever smart contract it is interacting with, even if it has bugs, okay, if the smart contracts had bug, it doesn't affect the parent computer at all. So Ethereum is that's why isolated. So if Ethereum is not a virtual machine, it was a Docker based system, then it will be affecting the parent software as well. All right, then Ethereum is terminable. So what terminable means is so the first point is Turing complete. So I mentioned if provided with enough resources, Ethereum can compute anything. Okay, so Turing complete machine basically means is it is complete machine. Like it can do anything. Whatever you want this machine to do, this machine can perform that thing. Okay, but it is terminable because of the concept of gas. All right, on EVM, if you wanna change the state of Ethereum virtual machine, you have to do a transaction. Okay, a transaction is something that changes the state of Ethereum virtual machine. All right, so let's say someone created a infinite long loop. Okay, cause it is Turing complete, then which means it can do anything. Like it can perform an infinite length loop. All right, so someone coded and provided an infinite long loop. You called it, and the Ethereum virtual machine is just running that loop. All right, so to make it state based machine, the concept of gas was introduced. Okay, so that's why Ethereum is terminable, because you can't do an infinite loop. But if enough resources provided, like if you provide infinite gas, if the gas limit of each block is increased to infinite, then Ethereum can compute an infinite loop as well. So these are the 5 important things about Ethereum virtual machine. Then next comes our smart contracts. All right, so smart contracts are piece of code uh, that execute once a predefined statement of parameters are met. A smart contract are usual conditional programming, like if this condition is met, then execute this thing. Okay, to perform the operation. So in layman's language, if you wanna talk with Ethereum, smart contract is the way. All right, uh, Ethereum is not like the machine is there, you can like uh, open a new tab into that machine. It's not like that. If you want to interact with that machine, you have to write smart contract. Okay, so its smart contract are a way to interact with EVM, to talk with EVM. All right, to change its state. One important thing mentioned here is smart contracts uses conditional programming. Okay, so conditional programming means if a particular condition is met, then only perform this thing. All right, so we are gonna discuss about this later. So apart from the three important properties of smart contracts are they are immutable, autonomous, and transparent. All right. So immutable means once a smart contract get into the Ethereum virtual machine, you can't change it. Why you can't change it? I just give you an example of I'm spelling the names of fruits. I write a name of fruit orange. All five people name orange in their list as well. So now I remove it from my list. So like will it get removed from all four of you? No. It is still there. So that's why smart contracts are immutable. Even if a single node removes a smart contract or changes the state uh, in his machine, then other machines out there will have a different state. Alright. Apart from that, these are autonomous. Autonomous means that if you wanna interact with a smart contract, you can interact with if a particular condition is met. All right, you and it is transparent. You can always check whatever happening on the smart contract. Even if the contract is not verified on a blockchain, you can still uh, check whatever happening. I will let you know how we can check it later on to the lecture. Now immutability means smart contract code cannot be altered when deployed on the blockchain. We already talked about this. Smart contracts are autonomous because they can self-execute without external control, and they are transparent since since rules governing their performance are written publicly available code. So whatever smart contract, like the good protocol projects always have their code public. Even the Ethereum has their code public. All right. So this is a sample smart contract that I have written. It was written in Solidity. So there are a lot of different language on which you can write like smart contracts. So there is Solidity, which is most famous one because it is very similar to JavaScript and C++, and it has inheritance object oriented programming all over it. That's why users like developers prefer Solidity. Apart from that, you can code smart contracts in Python. uh, then you can code smart contracts in Viper, which is another language. All right. So this is a sample smart contract with name Blocksock IITR. It has a uint member equals 12. So those who are familiar with Solidity will understand that this members and name are storage variables. This uint 8 is 8-bit unsigned integer which has a value of 12. This string public name is Blockchain Society IIT Roorkee. So this is two slot two slot storage smart contract. All right. uh, Next we are coming on to the opcode. So now we talked about what are smart contracts. All right, so take it. So this is your smart contract, let's say. All right, now it is written in Solidity, one of the famous smart contract language. Whenever you compile Solidity smart contract using Sol C compiler, so whenever what happens, every programming language gets compiled into assembly language. That's the goal of programming language. Even C++ gets compiled into assembly language. Whenever you compile C++, there is a binary file that got generated. All right, even in Python. So uh, whenever you compile a Solidity based smart contract using Sol compiler, two files are generated. Okay, so let's say the file name was code. Okay, so two files will be generated. One will be code.binary and another will be code.abi. All right, so the duty of Solidity compiler is to generate code.binary. Then this binary file gets converted into Java wrapper. Then this Java wrapper interacts with EVM. All right, so that's the whole flow. But we are gonna not going into the deep of it. We are gonna just need this binary file. Okay, so each Solidity smart contracts have two important things: ABI, application binary interface, and a binary file. This binary file contains two things. One is bytecode and another is opcode. All right, and this ABI is just JSON format of all the functions that are present in the smart contract. All right, so we are not going to talk about ABI because ABI is mostly used while reading the data or interacting the blockchain from Web2 basis, we are going to deal with bytecode and opcode, which are required, which are EVM level interactions. Okay, so now we have opcode and bytecode. All right. Okay, again. 1 minute. All right. So now what are opcodes? Okay, so like mostly whenever you see any tutorial out there on the internet, how they explain opcode is, this is your solidity code. It gets converted into bytecode, and then bytecode gets converted into opcodes. All right, this is how this thing is done. All right, so whenever you compile solidity, you get a binary code file. In that binary code file, we have these things. All right, so what are opcodes? Opcodes are, earlier I mentioned that is a stack based programming language. So a stack based programming language requires instructions. Okay, to do something it requires instructions. Okay, so these opcodes are the instruction to EVM stack. Okay, what to do with a stack are these instructions. So like I have added 3 instructions here, one of which is push, another is push, and the last one is mstore. All right, so this push 0x40, 0x40 is in hexadecimal format. Then there is push 0x80, which is also in hexadecimal format, and mstore. So how this thing's going to work, let me explain. So this is your stack. All right, EVM see this 3 instruction, push 0x40, right? 40, push 0x80, and mstore. Okay, all right. So like EVM starts analyzing this stack based instructions. Okay, so this push instruction, basically it's push 1. This push 1 instruction, what it does is pushes the 1 byte onto the stack. So this is 1 byte, 0x40. This 0x80 is also 1 byte. So how it's 1 byte in hexadecimal format, 2 hex digits is equals 1 bit, I guess. Yeah, 1 bit. 1 bit or byte, I'm not sure. So it's pushing 0x40 onto the stack. So now 0x40 is in the stack. Now this instruction is done. EVM moves on to the next instruction, push 1 0x80. Now what it will do is it will always again push, cause it means push onto the stack. So now we are pushing 0x80 into the stack. Now this instruction is executed. Now the next instruction is mstore. Mstore means memory store. So what mstore does, it takes 2 parameters, and one of the parameter is location and the other parameter is value. All right, so it will take 2 parameters, and first is location. At this location it will store this value in the memory. All right, so here it will take 2 parameters. The first parameter is 0x40, cause parameter, the like whatever parameter is at the bottom will be added first. So 0x40 is the location, and 0x80 is the value that we want to store in the memory. All right. Okay. Yep. Okay. So this is a simple opcode view how Ethereum does this thing. So what will happen after these 3 codes are executed in memory at location 0x40? This 0x80 value gets stored. Okay, 0x80 means 128 in decimal. Okay, so 128 gets stored. All right, so this is a basic overview of opcode. Like we are going to get into details in next coming slides. So now let's go by definition. Under the hood, the EVM uses a set of instructions called opcodes to execute specific tasks. At the time of writing, there are 141 unique opcodes. Together, this opcode allow EVM to be Turing complete. Okay, this means that EVM is able to compute almost anything given enough resources. Because opcodes are 1 byte, there can only be maximum of 256 opcode. So each opcode takes 1 byte of storage, and 1 byte equals 8 bit. 8 bit, so there can be 2 की power 8 unique byte opcodes, so that's why 256 unique opcodes. All right. So now we have 141 opcodes I mentioned earlier. So this 141 opcodes are instruction to EVM, like what to do with the stack. Okay. So now these opcodes are categorized into following categories. If you see, there is stack manipulating opcodes like pop, it pops an item from the stack. Push, it push an item onto the stack. Duplicate, it duplicates whatever present onto the stack and pushes it again. Swap, it swaps two item on the stack, like first gets swapped into fourth, fourth gets swapped into first. All right. Then there are arithmetic operators, a comparison operator, bitwise operators. Add, it add two values. Subtract, it subtract two values, and greater than, less than, and or. So or is a bitwise operation. There are environmental opcodes like caller, call value, call data load. Caller is message dot sender. Call value is message dot value. Call data load is message dot data. All right. Then memory manipulating opcodes. So there are two uh, memories available, basically storage unit available on a EVM. First is memory. Basically there are three. First is memory, second is storage, and third is stack. All right. So uh, if you want to store something onto the blockchain, there are only three ways. Either you can store it onto the stack, you can store it onto the memory, you can store it onto the storage. Like if you go downward, the amount of gas required to store gets increases, which means storing anything into the storage is most expensive and storing anything onto the stack is least expensive. All right. Later I will explain you how to store something onto the stack. Then these are memory manipulating opcodes cause it plays with the memory storage, like mload. It loads the memory from a particular offset. Offset means a particular consider it as a pointer. Okay. So if I say mload 0, so what it will do is it will load a memory of 32 byte from 0 pointer. So from 0 to 32, whatever present, it will load it. I already explained mstore. It stores 32 byte data into a particular location. Then there is mstore 8. What is difference between mstore and mstore 8 is mstore takes 32 byte data, basically 256 bit, and mstore takes 1 byte of data, basically 8 bits. All right. Then there is msize. It returns the size of memory. Storage manipulating opcodes, I already mentioned. There are three ways on which you can store something onto the stack. First is memory. We already talked about memory manipulating opcodes. There are storage manipulating opcodes. Sload, it loads something from the memory. Store, it stores something onto the memory. These are fairly similar with mstore, but once you use store or sload, it gets permanently saved into the memory. Okay. And also this opcodes uses different gas structures. Program counter related opcodes. So one thing about this EVM languages, it doesn't have for loops. Like a stack can't have for loops. Like if this thing is happening, just return this. It can't have for loops. Okay. So instead of that, EVM has jump statements. Like other programming language also have jump statement, like C++, JavaScript have jump statement. So what jump statement does is, so let's say, let me explain. So this is your stack. Okay. Let's say there comes a jump statement which EVM wants to execute. All right. So this jump statement means it on EVM level, it takes two parameters which are on next element to the stack. Okay. First parameter is the location where we want to jump to. Okay, so it will be here, location. Next parameter is whether to jump or not. All right. So, sorry, location will be here. Yeah. And next parameter will be a boolean, whether to make a jump or not. Okay. So let's say if it is true and this location is 0x40, which means jump to this 0x40 memory location. Basically offset. All right, pointer. Jump to this pointer if this is true. If this is false, do not make a jump. All right. So that's why how from one place to another place in EVM we make a jump. All right. All right. One important thing about jump I. This is jump I. Jump I is like whenever jump I opcode is called, whatever location that is been set here, like let's say this location is, let's say this pointer is 59. Okay, so at 59th pointer there should be a jump dashed opcode. It is required. Okay, so that particular location is the location of a jump dashed opcode. All right, so if there is no jump stat opcode at the location that we want to make a jump is, it will not make a jump, it will fail. All right, then there are halting opcodes. Like this opcodes basically stops the execution of stack. Like, so stop will, like self-explanatory, return whatever value present on top of the stack, it will return to EVM. Revert, it will revert. Invalid, it's self-explanatory. And now comes self-destruct. It is in special opcodes which destroys the smart contracts completely. Alright, so let's say you have a smart contract stored on a EVM blockchain. If you want to destroy it completely so that no one can able to see it, you can call this self-destruct opcode. So basically self-destruct is a keyword, not a keyword, it is a specific word in Solidity. So if you add, like if you created a function in Solidity, let's say destroy, which calls self-destruct takes an address as an input, and that address is the recipient address where to transfer all the funds of that smart contract. So after the transfer is done, your smart contract doesn't exist on EVM at all. It will get destroyed. Alright. Later on, upcoming Ethereum improvement proposal, this self-destruct will going to replaced by Sandall. So Sandall, what Sandall will do is it will not destruct the smart contract, but it will transfer all the Ethereum that is present onto your smart contract to a particular different account. So this self-destruct is going to be replaced. There is a already created Ethereum improvement proposal around it, but hopefully it will get included in by the upcoming Shanghai hard fork. So we talked about opcodes, like the instruction which EVM understands. Now comes bytecode. All right. So if you have been to any blockchain explorer, let's say Etherscan, Polygon Scan, Rinkeby Scan, you must have seen bytecode at the bottom of a contract. All right. So this bytecode is actually your contract. Okay. So if you ever tried verifying your contract, I don't know how much of you have tried. If you ever tried verifying your smart contract on a block explorer, sometimes it gets reverted with the bytecode doesn't matches. All right. So the bytecode doesn't matches means the bytecode that is present on the explorer is actual bytecode of your smart contract. Okay. And the bytecode that you are trying to match it with doesn't matching. That's why the verification is failing. So in order to efficiently store opcodes, they are encoded into bytecodes. Okay. So on a particular basically block explorer, you can't store things like push, mstore, all these things. So these are converted again into a hexadecimal format, and that hexadecimal format gets stored. Okay. So yeah, so how this hexadecimal format is defined is, let's say we have talked about this push one 0x40, again push one 0x80, and then again mstore. This is opcode structure. So how it gets stored onto a blockchain is, blockchain doesn't store the opcodes. Blockchain stores the bytecode. EVM stores the bytecode. So the push one opcode is known as 60. This is 1 byte, 40, again push one 60, again 80, then mstore, I can't remember what it means. So this data will get stored onto the blockchain. So whenever blockchain wants to execute this data, it will convert 60 into push 1, 40, 60 means push 1. So push 1 means push 1 byte, whatever next to it. So 1 byte is 40, so it will push 40. Then going into the next, it knows 60 means again push 1, push next byte, it will push 80, and then again is mstore, it will store it into the memory. So that's how Ethereum stores opcode by converting into bytecodes. So if you want to know like what each bytecode means, opcode means in bytecode, you can go to Ethereum white paper or evm.codes. They have a table of what each bytecode is converted in, each opcode is converted into bytecode. Okay. So EVM bytecode is a low-level programming language which is compiled from a high-level programming language such as Solidity. So bytecode is your assembly language for C++. So C++ is a high-level language which gets compiled into assembly. Solidity is your high-level language which gets compiled into bytecode. Okay. So this is your low-level programming language. Bytecode is the information that our Solidity code gets translated into. So first of all, our code gets translated into opcodes and opcodes gets translated into bytecode. Okay. Uh, it contains instruction to computer in binary, cause these all are in binary format, hexadecimal. Bytecode is generated compact numeric codes, constant and other pieces of information. So they contains numeric codes, 60 is a numeric code, constant 0x40 is a constant, and pieces of information. So later we will move on to a lot of information will be conveyed using bytecodes. Alright. Each instruction step is an operation which is referred to as opcodes, which are typically 1 byte. So I already mentioned opcodes are 1 byte. Okay. So that's why they are called bytecode. Basically 1 byte code is opcode. Okay. So like they are synonyms, you can consider it as. So bytecode is one byte opcode. Alright. So any question till now, cause this is the basics we have covered. Now we are going into like deep into EVM and opcode views. So any question? कुछ समझ नहीं आया, like I can explain again. So अरे word play है तो यार. So this is bytecode. Okay. So basically bytecode means is 1 byte opcode. So opcode is always 1 byte. Opcode हमेशा 1 byte storage लेता है. 1 byte का मतलब 8 bits. 8 bits मतलब 2 की पावर 8 डिफरेंट एंटिटीज. दैट्स वाई 256 ऑपकोड्स होंगे हमेशा. ठीक है. सो अगर ऑपकोड को आपको बोलना है तो आप 1 बाइट ऑपकोड बोलोगे. ठीक है. ऑल राइट. और कोई क्वेश्चन किसी को? या या let's go it again. Yeah. So I mentioned it is immutable. I didn't mention it's non-destructible. Immutable का मतलब जो है उसे चेंज नहीं कर सकते. जो है उसे पूरा हटा सकते हो आप. ऐसा नहीं कि मैंने एक फंक्शन बना दिया जो हमेशा वैल्यू, जो एक फंक्शन है जो हमेशा रिटर्न करेगा 8 वैल्यू. अब मैं उसे ऐसे चेंज नहीं कर सकता कि ये 9 रिटर्न कर दे आज. ठीक है. मेरे पास एक तरीका है, तो मैं पूरा का पूरा इस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को उड़ा दूँ. और जो सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट कीवर्ड है ये बहुत रेयरली यूज़ होता है. बहुत रेयरली मतलब वन ऑफ द वे यू कैन यूज सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट इज, तुम एक प्रोटोकॉल डेवलप कर रहे हो, यू आर टेस्टिंग योर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स. ऑल राइट. और दिस आर टेस्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स, नॉट फाइनल प्रोडक्शन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. तो तुम चाहते हो कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक बार टेस्ट हो जाए तो मैं इन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स को डिस्ट्रॉय कर दूँ. सो उस टाइम तुम सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट यूज़ करोगे. बट it is not a good practice to use self destruct. One important thing about self destruct is whenever you call self destruct it gives you gas. Okay. So सबको पता है कि Ethereum has a concept of gas. If you want to do a transaction you have to pay gas. Okay. So Ethereum has two things basically. काफ़ी डीप हो जाएगा but is it okay अगर मैं करूँ? सो चलो ठीक है. सो मैंने कहा कि इथीरियम एक वर्चुअल मशीन है. इट हैज़ अ द रिक्वायरमेंट फॉर अ ट्यूरिंग कंप्लीट मशीन इज इट शुड हैव इनफाइनाइट मेमोरी एंड इट कैन कंप्यूट इनफाइनाइट स्टैक. इनफाइनाइट स्टैक कंप्यूट करे और इनफाइनाइट मेमोरी हो. अब इथीरियम तो एक वर्चुअल मशीन है जो मेरे मैक में भी चला सकता हूँ मैं. ठीक है. तो मेरे मैक में तो इनफाइनाइट मेमोरी है नहीं. ओके. सो बेसिकली हाउ इथीरियम वर्क्स, सो हाउ इथीरियम स्टोरेज वर्क्स इज, इथीरियम स्टोरेज में दो चीज़ें होती हैं. कीज, दिस आर नोन एज कीज एंड दिस आर नोन एज मैपिंग्स. ओके. दिस कीज आर ऑल्सो नोन एज स्लॉट्स. ओके जिन्होंने पढ़ा है सॉलिडिटी उनको पता होगा स्टोरेज स्लॉट्स होते हैं इथेरियम में. The number of possible slots are 2 की power 256. This is the number of observable atoms in universe. पूरी यूनिवर्स में इतने एटम्स दिखते हैं बस हमको 2 की पावर 256. ऑलराइट. सो जो कीज हैं वो 2 की पावर 256 लॉन्ग है, बट इतनी मेमोरी तो हो नहीं सकती किसी की. स्लॉट के बाद हर स्लॉट पे वैल्यू स्टोर होती है. की पे एक मैपिंग पे लाइक आपकी की शुड पॉइंट टू अ मैपिंग ऑलराइट, अ वैल्यू. सो दिस वैल्यू इज वेयर द थिंग इज द वैल्यू इज स्टोर्ड. सो लेट्स से आई स्टोर्ड num 1 equals 10. ओके. सो ये यूइंट 256 है. सो ये जो num 1 है ये स्लॉट 0 में आ रहा है. तो मेरी मैपिंग कैसे लगेगी कि स्लॉट 0 पॉइंट्स टू 10. ऑलराइट. सो इथीरियम इस तरह वर्क करता है, बट कंडीशन इज इथीरियम इज 2^256 मेमोरी होनी चाहिए फॉर अ ट्यूरिंग कंप्लीट मशीन. बट इतनी मेमोरी लाइक पॉसिबल ही नहीं. अगर अपन वर्ल्ड के सारे कंप्यूटर्स भी मिला देंगे तो उनकी मिला के भी इतनी मेमोरी नहीं बनती है. ऑलराइट. सो हाउ इथीरियम मैनेजेस दैट थिंग. सो व्हाट इथीरियम डज इज द होल मेमोरी इन इथीरियम is initialized as zeros. So this 2 की all slots are initialized, all the values are initialized at zeros. सारी वैल्यू जीरो से इनिशलाइज कर दी इथीरियम ने. ओके. नाउ व्हाई यू हैव टू पे गैस इन इथीरियम. सो इथीरियम में गैस का कंसेप्ट कुछ ऐसा है कि गैस का जो यूसेज है एक तो आता है कि टर्मिनेबल बनाने के लिए कि टर्मिनेट हो पाए. ठीक है. दूसरा आता है कि भाई तुम किसी दूसरे के कंप्यूटर में यू आर चेंजिंग समथिंग इनटू स्टोरेज. ठीक है. आप जब एक ट्रांजैक्शन भेजते हो तो स्टोरेज में कुछ चेंज होता है. आप कॉन्ट्रैक्ट डिप्लॉय करते हो तो स्टोरेज में कुछ चेंज होता है. तो स्टोरेज को चेंज करने की आपको कॉस्ट देना रहती है. ठीक है. सो लेट से मैंने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट डिप्लॉय किया, ये जीरो मेमोरी इनिशलाइज्ड है, मतलब सारे के सारे वैल्यू स्लॉट जीरो से हैं, तो इथीरियम उन्हें कंसिडर ही नहीं करता है. इथीरियम के हिसाब से कि इथीरियम मान लेता है कि मेरे पास इनफाइनाइट मेमोरी है जो कि जीरो से इनिशलाइज्ड है. ओके. अब लेट से मैं एक स्लॉट पे जाऊंगा 2 की पावर 128. उस स्लॉट में मैं डाल दूंगा 10 वैल्यू. ओके. ये मैं कर सकता हूँ क्योंकि इथीरियम इस वैल्यू पे इस स्लॉट पे ये वाली वैल्यू डाल देगा. अब इथीरियम को कैसे पता है स्लॉट इनिशलाइज्ड है या नहीं है. वो जाएगा इस स्लॉट पे, चेक करेगा इसकी वैल्यू ज़ीरो है क्या. इस स्लॉट की अगर स्लॉट की वैल्यू ज़ीरो हुई तो हम उसे लिखना चाहते हैं 10 से. अब हम यहाँ पर एक राइट ऑपरेशन कर रहे हैं और किसी दूसरे कंप्यूटर में वी आर चेंजिंग समथिंग, सो वी हैव टू पे गैस. सो यहाँ पर हमें स्टोरेज चेंज करने के लिए गैस देना पड़ेगी. अब द गुड थिंग अबाउट सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट इज, सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट का मतलब है कि भाई जो भी ब्लॉकचेन में था मैं उसे निकालना चाहता हूँ. ठीक है. या सो अरे इधर आ जाना, तू हिला दे रहे ना इसको तो शट डाउन ना हो. अरे यश shut down मत होने. Alright, so we changed the gas. So what Ethereum says is if you want to change any zero to any non-zero value, you have to pay gas. But self-destruct में what we are doing, self-destruct में already एक memory में हमारा contract था यहाँ से यहाँ तक. ठीक है. यहाँ पे हमने कुछ भी memory लिख रखी थी. अब हम इस memory को जीरो से इनिशलाइज कर रहे हैं वापस, क्योंकि सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट का मीनिंग यही है कि उतना बाइट कोड इरेज कर दो जो ईवीएम में सेव्ड है. सो ईवीएम में ये कंसेप्ट भी है कि अगर आप किसी ज़ीरो वाले मेमोरी को नॉन ज़ीरो से फिल कर रहे हो, तो अगर नॉन ज़ीरो के ज़ीरो से फिल करोगे तो आपको गैस रिफंड मिलेगा. ठीक है. तो सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट जब भी कॉल होता है तो आपको अमाउंट ऑफ गैस रिफंड मिलता है, क्योंकि आप अब दूसरे के कंप्यूटर में से मेमोरी कम कर रहे हो जो आपने स्टोर की थी, तो आपको रिफंड मिलना चाहिए. सो सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट इसीलिए यूज़ होता है. वन इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग अबाउट सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट इज एक इथीरियम एड्रेस पे ईथर भेजने के सिर्फ 3 तरीके हैं. या तो आप डॉट सीधे ट्रांसफ़र कर दो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एड्रेस पे बेसिकली. ओके. तो किसी नॉर्मल अकाउंट में तो आप डॉट कॉल करते हो और ईथर भेज देते हो डायरेक्टली. बस किसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट अकाउंट पे ईथर भेजने के सिर्फ 3 तरीके होते हैं. एक तो या तो उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में फॉल बैक रिसीव पेएबल फंक्शन हो, एक तरीका ये होता है. दूसरा तरीका, अगर उसमें फॉल बैक फंक्शन नहीं हुआ तो आप कभी उस पर ईथर नहीं बेच पाओगे। ओके, क्योंकि रिसीव पेबल फंक्शन कहता है कि भाई अगर मेरे पास ईथर आए तो मैं वो रिसीव कर लूँ। ठीक है, फॉल बैक फंक्शन का मतलब होता है जब कोई फंक्शन मैच ना हो, इस चीज़ के ऊपर फॉल कर जाऊँ। ठीक है, दूसरा तरीका, अगर उस पर रिसीव पेबल फंक्शन नहीं हुआ, सो सेकेंड वे इज आप माइनिंग रिवॉर्ड दे दूँ कि यार हर ब्लॉक के अंदर एक कॉइन बेस एड्रेस होता है। ओके, जिन्होंने लाइक ब्लॉकचेन के बारे में पढ़ा होगा उन्हें पता होगा कि हर ब्लॉक में एक कॉइन बेस एड्रेस होता है। तो अगर उस कॉइन बेस एड्रेस को आप किसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एड्रेस से रिप्लेस कर दोगे जिसमें पेबल फंक्शन नहीं है, तो भी उस पर ईथर चले जाएगा। कॉइन बेस एड्रेस माइनर्स एड्रेस होता है जो ब्लॉक माइन करता है और उसे ईथर मिलते हैं। ठीक है, सो कॉइन बेस एड्रेस इज माइनस एड्रेस, दिस इज द सेकेंड वे। थर्ड वे इज सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट। सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट, अगर किसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में स्टिल पेबल फंक्शन नहीं है, आप किसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पे ईथर भेजो, उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को डिस्ट्रॉय करो यूजिंग सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट। एंड आई ऑलरेडी मैंशन सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट टेक्स अ पैरामीटर, दैट पैरामीटर इज एन एड्रेस कि इस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को डिस्ट्रॉय करने के बाद जितने भी ईथर्स मेरे पास पड़े हैं इस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पर, वो सारे इस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पर भेज दिए जाएँ, द पैरामीटर विच आई पास एज एन एड्रेस। सो दिस आर द थ्री वेज टू सेंड ईथर टू अ contract address. Okay, so yeah, that's it I guess. Yeah, बैठ जाओ। और कोई क्वेश्चन है? हाँ, एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? देखो था ना। हाँ, no, the thing that gets stored into the EVM is bytecode. Instruction like EVM bytecode को decompile करता है in opcodes. So an opcode is kind of encoded version. Bytecode is encoded version of opcode and opcode is decoded version of bytecode. ठीक है, और कोई क्वेश्चन किसी को? चलो, सो या सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट वर्क्स इन अ वे, इट टेक्स अ पैरामीटर एज एन एड्रेस। तो जो एड्रेस आप पास कर रहे हो, ऑल अमाउंट ऑफ द ईथ विल बी ट्रांसफर टू दैट एड्रेस एंड द अमाउंट ऑफ गैस जो रिफंड हो रहा है वो जिस भी ट्रांजेक्शन में हो रहा है उसके अंदर रिफंड आता है। सो यहाँ पर भी एक फंडा है कि ऐसा हो सकता है सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट करते टाइम कि लेट से आपने पूरी ट्रांजैक्शन के लिए 1000 गैस फी दिए और सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट के बाद आपको 3000 रिफंड मिल रहा है, तो यहाँ तो माइनर का लॉस हो गया। ठीक है, सो यहाँ पे फंडा आता है कि दिस बाय टू और दिस का जो भी मिनिमम होता है वो आपको पे करना रहता है। ठीक है, सो ये आपका मान लो अगर 500 होता, इसका बाय टू 250, तो आपको 250 गैस पे करना रहती। ये सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट का फंडा है, थोड़ा और डिफरेंट है, कॉम्प्लेक्स है बेसिकली, मैंने तो लेमेन्स लैंग्वेज में समझा दिया है। सो ये होता है कि माइनर को लॉस ना हो, इसीलिए सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट में भी काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें लगाई गई हैं। एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? ओके, सो लेट्स मूव ऑन देन। नाउ लेट्स गो अ बिट डीपर। नाउ things are going to get more deep onto bytecode and opcode views. So let's start. So this is a basic smart contract. You can see like those who have used Remix, this is the first smart contract that comes up. So this is the predefined smart contract that Remix gives you, and this is the same contract. If you have laptops, it would be better to open it now. खोल लो, और नहीं है तो अपने आसपास वालों के देख लेना। ठीक है, तुम लैपटॉप खोलो। ओके, चलो तुम खोल लेना तो अपन आगे बढ़ते हैं. So this is a basic smart contract which is provided by Remix. So whenever you opens Remix IDE, this is one. There are three contracts which you get. This is the first one, storage.sol. So if you see this smart contract, the name of the contract is storage. We have a global variable, basically storage variable at slot 0, which is num. We have a function named storage which takes a value as an input and stores replaces slot 0 variable's value with this thing. Well, like it sets the value of num, then we have retrieve, it gives the value of num. Okay, so one more thing here is, let's say I just explained you the concept of writing non-zero value to a storage. Okay, so there are a few things where you like, apart from self-destruct, you can get gas refund in another ways also. So let's say in our smart contract we call the which function, store function. इसको बंद मत होने देना, ठीक है. So let's say we have store function. What store function does is sets the value of variable num. Okay, so now currently the variable num is in slot 0 and it has a value of 0. उसकी वैल्यू 0 है क्योंकि वो इनिशलाइज नहीं है. एंड आई ऑलरेडी सेज द होल memory, storage memory in EVM is initialized at 0. Now what we do is we call this store function with a value 10. So what it will do is ये इस slot को fill up कर देगा with 0x a. हेक्साडेसिमल में 10 को 0x a बोलते हैं. ऑलराइट, सो अब ये slot fill हो गया है, so उसको गैस देना पड़ेगी. गैस दी. Now we again call this function store with a value 0. ठीक है. Now it has 0x a stored in the slot 0. Now we are overriding it like with 0. अब हमने एक slot जो प्री इनिशलाइज था नॉन जीरो वैल्यू से उसे 0 से इनिशलाइज कर रहे हैं. सो यहाँ पर भी हमको गैस रिफंड मिलता है. ठीक है. ये ऑलराइट, सो आउट ऑफ कॉन्टेक्स्ट था, बस मैं बताना चाह रहा था कि देर आर more than self-destruct cases where you can get gas refund. So what Ethereum says is writing a non-zero storage to 0 always gives you refund. ये Ethereum yellow paper में लिखा है. Okay. Now this contract has two functions. One is store. It storage the value of variable num. One is retrieve. It gives you the value of variable num. That the EVM will have to decide between when a function call comes in. The purpose of this tutorial here is to make you familiar with how we interact with EVM actually. Okay, सब लोगों को, like those who have coded in Solidity or are familiar with Ethers.js, Web3.js, you just do a dot call in Web3.js or a static call in Ethers.js to interact or view data from the blockchain. Okay, so how, whenever do a query to a blockchain to do a transaction, how does Ethereum knows like I have to change this specific part of this function? Okay, क्योंकि Ethereum में पूरा बाइट कोड स्टोर होता है आपके स्मार्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का. ठीक है. तो Ethereum, how Ethereum determines कि मुझे सिर्फ इतना पार्ट चेंज करना है. So we are going to talk about that thing. Before we talk about, I talked about bytecode, right? So there is a catch in bytecode. Bytecodes are of two types. Okay, one of is known as init bytecode and other is known as deployment bytecode. Okay, whatever bytecode you see when you compile your smart contract into Remix or Hardhat or Truffle, the bytecode that you see is init bytecode, and whatever bytecode that you see on Blockchain Explorer or the bytecode that's stored on a blockchain is deployment bytecode. Okay, so init bytecode is also known as creation bytecode and deployment bytecode is also known as runtime bytecode. Okay, so now when we compile this contract into remix. Now let's compile it on remix id. So if you have laptop, just open remix id, and you will be seeing first storage.sol contract. Make sure it is similar to this one. If not, change the code accordingly. चीज़ें बता रहा हूँ, अरे खत्म होने वाला, काफ़ी डीप मैंने बोला था, स्टार्टिंग में समझाने में टाइम लग गया, मैंने अभी नोट्स समझा रहा हूँ. So like, is it done? किसी को कोई प्रॉब्लम है क्या रिमिक्स खोलने में? सेकेंड रो सबका रिमिक्स आईडी ओपन हो गया है. थर्ड, फोर्थ नहीं हुआ हो तो यहाँ ब्लॉकसॉक थर्ड ईयर हेल्प कर देगा तुमको. यश, और देख के आना सबका ओपन हो गया है. पार्थ, कमल ये वाली रो चेक कर ले. हाँ हाँ, उसको कहा वो कल इंटर आईडी. ओके, सो द स्टोरेज डॉट सॉल लुक्स लाइक दिस, राइट? किसी के इसमें कोई डिफरेंट तो नहीं है ना? लाइक एक नम वेरिएबल होगा और दो फंक्शन होंगे स्टोर एंड रिट्रीव नाम के. ओके, so let me open it as well. I already have it open. So this is my remix id. Yeah, so now let's compile this contract. So on third icon, you can see a compilation section of Solidity. So let's compile, like run the compilation button, like compile storage.sol in your, and in my it's lecture 2. So compile the contract. After compiling, at the bottom you will be seeing two things, ABI and bytecode. So ABI is application binary interface, and bytecode is the compiled bytecode of smart contract. So basically it is the binary file, code.bind is the bytecode. So just copy the bytecode, open evm.codes as well, evm.codes. Open, right? So in evm.codes there is a bytecode option, like this is the drop down. Select the bytecode and paste the selected bytecode here. So now this bytecode is a binary file, so it has opcodes as well and object as well. So copy the whatever is in the object, just copy that part. So you can see this is my object, just copy it and replaces the whole thing with that copied object code. So finally your bytecode looks like this. Like when it's done, just ping me, cause then I will explain you in short about init bytecode and deployment bytecode. Is this done? किसी का बचा है क्या? बचा है? रिचा तो भी देख लेना एक बार. quickly, guys. ये compilation पे compiled bytecode है basically. Okay. Anyways, let's move on because we don't have much time. Okay, so now we have compiled our storage.sol in Remix. We have get the init bytecode. Okay, so the earlier I mentioned about two things: init bytecode and deployment bytecode. So whenever you send a transaction on a blockchain, so whenever you send a transaction on a blockchain, what happens is there are two or three different fields of a particular transaction. One of which is to, there is data field, there is from field, there is nonce, okay, there is gas price, and VRS for signature verification. Okay, so before jumping on to this part, I just have a question. Whenever we send a transaction to a Ethereum blockchain, how does it differentiate it with, like, this transaction is for contract deployment, this transaction is to send value Ethereum from one address to another, and this transaction is contract interaction? So how does Ethereum differentiate it? Like, does anyone know? Like, I'm sending a transaction to deploy this Remix ID contract, and how does Ethereum will know that this is a deployment transaction? Or if I want to interact with this store function on Ethereum, how will the EVM knows that this transaction is to interact with this particular contract, this particular function? Or even if I want to send one ether to some any of you, how will the Ethereum knows कि यार मेरे को एक ether भेजना है इस transaction से? Does anyone know? Okay. So there are three types of transactions in Ethereum. First is contract deployment, other is contract interaction or function call, and third one is transfer ETH. Okay, there are, I categorize transaction into these three ways. Okay, so for a contract deployment transaction, the to field is always empty. Okay, and the data field will contain init bytecode plus deployment bytecode plus constructor params. So this will be the data that the data field will be containing, and 2 will be empty, and this will be same for each transaction. Okay, so this thing will be empty for a contract deployment, and the data will be init bytecode plus deployment bytecode plus constructor params. For a contract interaction bytecode, 2 will be contract address, and the data will be function signature plus params. This will be the data in contract interaction or function call, and to transfer ETH, the data field will be empty. Okay, so this is how EVM knows कि this particular transaction is for contract deployment, this is for function call, and this is for send ETH. Okay, so going next from this is now you must be seeing this bytecode over there. Okay, so this is the bytecode that we got from compiling from Remix or any Solidity compiler. All right, so I already mentioned the bytecode that you got from a compiler is initialized bytecode, basically init bytecode or creation bytecode. Okay, now this is the exact bytecode that I have got from Remix. Now I have highlighted two parts in here. First one is this from 6080604052 to F3. This part of code is initialization bytecode. Okay, and we will going to talk about next one later. So I already mentioned that when you deploy a contract, you need these three things. Okay, so let's try and deploy this contract on Rinky Bay chain. So let's just deploy it. Confirm. So we are just deploying the storage.sol contract. Uh, okay, like you can also try deploying it, like if you have any test ether. Yup, and it's deployed. Yup, so this is the same contract that I deployed basically 4 hours ago. So this is the bytecode that you see get stored onto the blockchain. Like I can share this contract address. Uh, I will share it on the Discord later. So this is the bytecode that gets stored onto the blockchain. Okay. Now let's just copy the bytecode that we got from here, from the compiler, and check whether they are same or not. Like you can see, this bytecode is not same as the one we got from the compiler. Okay. So that's the difference. This is the runtime bytecode, and the bytecode that we got from the compiler is creation bytecode. Okay, so like uh, explaining creation bytecode and compile runtime bytecode is like another lecture topic, called it's gonna take more than an hour to explain just both two fields, cause a bytecode ABI are like very big field in EVM. So we are gonna leave it for here. Now let's come into the slides. So you can see the first highlighted part is the initialized bytecode. So how does an Ethereum knows? So whenever you send a transaction for a contract deployment, you have to send these three things, right? So how does Ethereum knows where it will get the deployment bytecode plus constructor param? Because we have sent this thing as well. How will Ethereum know? Because this is the data field. Data is what Ethereum will execute. So in data we have three things: init bytecode, deployment bytecode, and constructor params. So how will the Ethereum know now ki which part of the whole data is deployment bytecode? Because if you see, let me just open it. Data. Yeah, if you see, this is the transaction data, and you can see this transaction data has init bytecode in it. 60806052 F3FE. This is the exact thing we have here, F3FE. So this is the transaction data which we have got. So how Ethereum knows कि यार इसके बाद से मेरा runtime bytecode start होगा. So what Ethereum does is, I'm just gonna explain it in 1 minute because it's a different topic. So Ethereum just takes the data. This is bytecode. Deconstruct it into opcodes. So when you deconstruct it, you will see this F3FE. This F3FE means stop. Just hold the execution. So when Ethereum, for each data, when going through that particular bytecode data, if Ethereum finds a stop, which means after this stop, whatever code is, it's runtime bytecode. Okay, that's how Ethereum knows that the bytecode plus constructor params will be after init bytecode, because in init bytecode there is an opcode, this F3FE, which means stop. So what Ethereum will do, take this bytecode, deconstruct it into opcode, start going one by one from each opcode, and whenever it finds an stop, which means whatever the data left after this is runtime bytecode, and it will store the data after this stop. Okay, so I explained it in very layman term, but it is a very complex process how Ethereum does that. Okay, So here again and again, by Ethereum I means EVM. Okay. All right. So now we have this data. I explained you the difference between init bytecode and deployment bytecode. Now we are going to focus on this particular snippet. Okay. So what I have explained you till now is how a contract gets deployed, how Ethereum gets the runtime bytecode. Now there are three different parts of interaction with Ethereum. I am going to take this contract interaction part, uh, and in contract interaction part there are six different things, like one is payable check, one is constructor function modifier, another is function wrappers, then function logics. So let me just show you a image. So I think this image is visible, right? So there is this basic token dot sol. We just compiled it with Solidity compiler, and this is the opcode that we get. This is basic token dot evm. This is the opcode. Okay. Now this opcode, we have got this opcode from compiler. So there will be two opcodes: creation opcodes, basically the init opcode. So this init opcode contains this thing. Inside init opcodes, there are checks like free memory pointer initialization, then non-payable check, receive constructor params. So how it receives constructor param is after deployment bytecode there consists constructor param. So it fetches the constructor params after deployment bytecode. Then there is constructor body. Whatever present in the constructor is executes it. Then there is runtime code to memory. So after constructor get executed, what it does is it takes the bytecode after stop and return it to the EVM. So this is the code. So if you see this copy runtime code to memory, this is copy runtime bytecode to memory. It will copy the runtime bytecode from to memory and it will return the code to EVM. So now this creation thing is done. Then there comes runtime bytecode. In runtime bytecode is what gets stored onto the blockchain. So in runtime bytecode is basically your whole smart contract written in hexadecimal format. That is runtime bytecode. So in runtime bytecode, whenever you interact with a contract, you are actually interacting with a bytecode. Okay. Uh, for this particular contract, we have this much bytecode. Let's say I wanted to uh, interact with store function. Like let's call the store function with some call data. So what Ethereum, how Ethereum knows now कि यार सिर्फ store function ही call होना चाहिए, क्योंकि bytecode Ethereum के पास इस address पे इतना सारा bytecode stored है, like you can see it. So how Ethereum knows कि this store function should be called and should be changed. Okay. So now we are going to go deep into it. So let's move on. Okay. So before going into interaction with EVM bytecode, there is one thing named as call data. So when we call a contract function, we include some data that specify the function signature we are calling and any argument that need to be passed in. So I already mentioned for a contract interaction, the data feed must have function signature plus parameters. Okay. So in order to interact with this particular contract bytecode, we will be needing function signature of storage plus the variable that we want to change. So let's move on to next slide. So for in web2 part we use as ethers.js. You can also use web3.js to do this. So in this lines of code, what I did was I just imported ethers. I pasted the ABI of store from the contract. I created an interface of ABI and then I encoded the function call data. Okay. So this function call data, what it does is it converts the parameters into hexadecimal format. It converts the function signature into 4 bytes kcalc hash and merge all of that. So what this is, so like if you see the console.log call data output is 0x6057 to D1, alright, to D. And then there are 32 bytes of data, which is 0x000A. So what we are doing here is we are storing 10 to the store variable, num variable. Okay, so this is our remix ID. So we are calling the store with a value 10. Okay, so we have got the first 4 bytes are function signature and the last 32 bytes, next 32 bytes are 10 in hexadecimal format. 0x0a is 10 in hexadecimal format. Okay. So function signature are defined as the first 4 bytes of Kcalc hash of canonical representation of function signature. Okay. So canonical representation means it should only contain function name plus uh, parameter types, not parameters. So if you see this store uint256, this is the canonical representation of this function store uint value public. Okay, this is the canonical representation. So if I take kcalc hash of store uint256, I get a 32-bit byte data, and if I take the first 4 bytes of that data will be equal to this thing. So you can see this thing is equals to this data, our call data. Okay, and looking at our call data above, we can see that we have 36 bytes of call data. This call data is of 36 bytes. Okay, the first 4 bytes of call data correspond to the function selector, basically function signature. We just computed store uint function. The remaining 32 byte correspond to uint256 input argument. So the next is argument. So whenever you interact with the function, any function on a smart contract, what you do is put the first 32 byte data, first 4 byte of function signature. Now let's say the function contains 5 parameters. All 5 parameters are uint. Let's say num1, num2, num3, num4, num5. Okay. So you have first 4 byte of function signature. Like I am explaining you how to build call data manually. Like you can use ethers.js how to build it manually. So just take the first 4 bytes. Now there are 5 parameters of 32 bytes each. Let's say for each parameter you want to enter 10. Okay. So for the next 32 byte is next parameter. So you want it as 10, so it will be 0x0a. So 32 bytes will be 0x0a. Then another 32 bytes will be 0x0a. Another 32 bytes will be this, and this is how you build your contract call data. Okay. So like this is also kind of project you guys can do. Like just take any Ethereum transaction hash, fetch the call data, and convert that call data into particular function parameters, like what are the function parameters get passed. Okay, so it is easy. Now the remaining 32 bytes are the value that we want to replace onto the blockchain. So now what we are going to do is we are going to interact this call data with this bytecode with this call data. Okay, so now we are sending a transaction onto Ethereum. The to address will be the address of our contract deployed, and this will be our call data that we want our contract to interact with. Okay, now let's go here. Just a minute. All right. So this is our bytecode that we. This is our bytecode that we'll be focusing on. This bytecode is the part of compile runtime bytecode that we have. So now in EVM.codes is a good way to interact with bytecode and see what happens when you interact. So this is the bytecode from the contract that we have deployed. This is not all bytecode. This is the underlying bytecode that I've showed you. After that, we already have the call data that we have created. So the call data will be this. Now let's interact both of these things. Okay, so after doing the run, what it will do is it will decode this whole call data into opcodes. So you can see this call data correspond to this all opcodes: push, call data load, push 1, write shift, duplicate, push 4, equal. Okay, so now what we have done is we will just interact this call data with this bytecode. Okay, so let's go one by one. So here there are 4 things. One is memory. Whatever gets stored into the memory will be shown here. This is your current stack. Then this is storage, whatever gets stored into the storage, and this is return value. Okay, so for the purpose of this tutorial, I will not be explaining how things get stored into the storage after a function gets selected. The purpose of this tutorial is to let you know how blockchain determines that it needs to only change this particular function. So how EVM selects that this function should be changed. Okay, I will be explaining this part. Okay, So if you see our call data has one good thing. It has 4 byte function signature, which means it is saying Ethereum that I want to only interact with a function that matches this 4 byte signature. Okay, so now Ethereum has one clue कि यार मुझे ऐसे फंक्शन से मैच कराना है जो जिसका सिग्नेचर इससे मैच करता हूँ. ठीक है. अब इथीरियम डजेंट नो कि यार इथीरियम में कॉपी कंट्रोल एफ तो होता नहीं कि वो जल्दी से सर्च कर लेगा कि बाइट कोड मैच हो गया है और बाइट कोड मैच हो गया है देन इट विल एग्जीक्यूट. सो व्हाट इथीरियम डज इट टेक्स द होल बाइट कोड ऑफ स्मार्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. सो अपन ने जो 6 लाइन का बाइट कोड देखा था वो पूरा बाइट कोड लेगा, उस बाइट कोड को कन्वर्ट करेगा ऑप कोड में और ये कॉल डेटा को लेके स्टैक चलाना चालू कर देगा. ठीक है. सो फॉर पर्पस आई हैव जस्ट टुक अ फ्रेगमेंट ऑफ दैट बाइट कोड and this call data, and now let's see what happens. Okay, so the first instruction says that push 1 onto the stack. So now push 0 onto the stack, so 0 gets pushed on the stack, you can see. Second instruction said that call data load. So what call data load means is it will load the call data onto the stack. Okay, so call data load, the call data got loaded onto the stack, you can see. Next one comes is push 1. Push 1 means push 1 byte whatever next to it. So the next thing that it want to push is E0. Okay, so it will push E0. E0 in decimal means 224. So it will just push 224 onto the stack. Now there is right shift. Now you can see the current stack has only two things, our call data load and E0. If you see this call data, can you see there is no 0A at the end, which means our whole call data didn't get loaded. There is something missing, or our call data was 36 byte and this is 32 bytes. Okay, so what call data function does is call data function takes one argument which is pointer. Okay, so it takes an argument pointer, and when you call data load, what it will do is, let's say our whole call data is, let's say our this call data is named as data. Okay, now our call data load takes a parameter which was 0, because you can see the first variable that was onto the stack was 0. So the parameter that call data load got was 0. So what it will do is it will copy the call data from 0 to 32 onto the stack. That's why the first 32 byte of call data was on the stack, because call data load only takes 32 bytes and put it on the stack. Now if you see our current call data, it has 32 bytes of our call data and E0 means 224. Now we are doing a write shift. Okay, so you can see we have 32 bytes of data onto the stack. Visible है ना कि मैं ऊपर लिखूँ थोड़ा? ओके, सो अब स्टैक पे हमारे पास ये हमारा फंक्शन सिक के साथ है, प्लस वी हैव E0 which means 224. Now the next op code is shift right. Shift right takes two parameters. First is कितना शिफ्ट करना है और किसको शिफ्ट करना है. ठीक है, इट टेक्स टू पैरामीटर. तो कितना शिफ्ट करना है वो तो इसे पता है. ठीक है, 224 इज इन डेसिमल फॉर्मेट, तो 224 बिट्स है ये. ठीक है, 224 बिट्स मीन्स 28 बाइट्स. ठीक है, सो अपना कॉल डेटा 32 बाइट्स का है. ठीक है, स्टैक पे 224 है विच मीन्स 28 बाइट्स. सो हमने क्या कहा कि हमारे कॉल डेटा को 28 बाइट्स राइट शिफ्ट कर दो. सो ये हमारा फंक्शन सिग्नेचर है 4 बाइट का. अगले 28 बाइट्स क्या है? 0. हम इसे शिफ्ट कर देंगे, व्हाट वी विल गेट? फंक्शन सिग्नेचर. ठीक है, सो आफ्टर डूइंग शिफ्ट राइट वी विल बी गेटिंग फंक्शन सिग्नेचर. Now you can see on the stack we only have function signature left. Okay, now we are not doing anything. This is our call data interacting with bytecode. कि मतलब हमारा कॉल डेटा एक एक्चुअल स्मार्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट से इंटरेक्ट कर रहा है. ठीक है, तो हमने यहाँ कुछ भी नहीं लिखा है. एवरीथिंग इज प्री रिटन ऑन द स्मार्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एंड वी आर इंटरेक्टिंग. ओके, दैट्स व्हाट इथेरियम डज इज. Now stack पे सिर्फ हमारा function signature है. Now if we move on, we will duplicate it. Next instruction was duplicate. Now next instruction was push 4. Okay. Now what push 4 does is it push the next 4 byte onto the stack. So अगली 4 byte stack पे डाल देगा वो. So stack पे 4 byte आ गई. अब if you see carefully in our remix ID, there are two functions. One is store, another is retrieve. If you take the kcalc hash of retrieve and take first 4 bytes of it, you will get this value which is on the stack currently. ठीक है. तो हो क्या रहा है, इथीरियम ने हमारा कॉल डेटा लिया है और वो फंक्शन मैच कर रहा है कि भाई पहला फंक्शन हमारा रिट्रीव आ गया है. अब वो मैच करेगा कि यार जो कॉल डेटा में फंक्शन बाइट्स सेट हुए हैं वो दोनों मैच हो रहे हैं कि नहीं. ठीक है, अगर वो मैच हो जाते हैं तो वो एक जंप स्टेटमेंट मार देगा जहाँ पर उस फंक्शन का लॉजिक लिखा हुआ है वहाँ पर. ठीक है. सो लेट्स सी, अभी इथीरियम ने हमारे स्टैक पर ईवीएम लोडेड द रिट्रीव फंक्शन first four bytes of hash. Okay, now the next statement comes is equal. What it means is it will take two values from the stack. अगर equal हुई तो 1 डाल देगा और equal नहीं हुई तो 0 डाल देगा. So we went equal. As you can see, those were not equal. That's why our stack has 0. Okay, now it's pushing 0x0 3b. Okay, so now we pushed next 2 bytes onto the stack. अब हमारे stack पे 3b 0 and function signature है हमारा. Okay, now there comes the statement jump I. I already explained jump I takes two parameters. First parameter was location, second parameter was whether to jump or not. तो location यहाँ पे 3b पता है, इसका मतलब 3b in decimals means 59. तो 59th opcode की location पे jump मार लो, it means that. Okay, 59 offset. So what Ethereum does is Ethereum maintains a offset which means the current location that you are at. Okay, so now we have the jump I. Jump I takes the location and the next argument is false, which means there will not be any jump. So हमने किया वो दोनों opcode stack value चले गई क्योंकि jump I pops them. Next comes duplicate again. Now we are duplicating again. Now we are again pushing this function signature. Then we are equating. After equating, we get 1 on the top. Then we are pushing 0x59. Then after that we are making a jump here cause 1 means true. So अब हमारी jump उस value पर हो जाएगी, which means Ethereum has properly, EVM has properly concluded कि function का जो data था, इस data का logic मुझे कहाँ पर implement करना है. Okay, so that's how Ethereum does function matching. So like there is also a gas optimization tip that I want to share. So you see that in remix ID, whatever function that you want कि यार ये बहुत ज़्यादा interact होगा, यूज़र इस फंक्शन से बहुत interact करेंगे, that let's say आपके पास सप्लाई, विड्रॉ, बोरो और पेबैक फंक्शन है आपके प्रोटोकॉल के अंदर. अगर आप चाहते हो यूज़र इनसे ज़्यादा इंटरेक्ट करें तो उन फंक्शन को स्मार्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में पहले रखो. क्यों पहले रखो? क्योंकि देखो ये फंक्शन सिग्नेचर पहले आया है, अगर पहले ही जंप हो जाती तो इतना नीचे जाना ना पड़ता. सो हर ऑप कोड एग्जीक्यूशन गैस लेता है, सो यूज़र्स को गैस बच जाती. ऑलराइट, सो दिस इज आवर थिंग, हाउ इथेरियम डज दिस थिंग. आई ऑलरेडी हैव this explained here. Like push 0 tells EVM to push 1 byte of data, that is 0x0 onto the call. Call data will load the 32 bytes of call data. Push 1 will push the hex value to 24. Shift right will right shift it, then duplicate. So this is how we did it. If you want to see why I took a fragment, then we can try it with the original call data as well. So if you where is yeah, so this is our call data that's got deployed on the EVM because we are not considering the runtime init bytecode. Okay, so now let's take this call data, paste it, our call data is same, and then make a run. Okay, now I'm just gonna go very fast to explain this thing. We are pushing 80 onto the stack, 40 onto the stack, storing 128 onto the stack, then call value is message dot value which is 0, gets into the stack, duplicating it, is 0, checking whether the value on the stack is 0 or not, then pushing 0x10 onto the stack, then jumping. Now it wants to make a jump. Why? Because the next value is 1, so we will make a jump. You see that when we make a jump, we made the jump to jump dash opcode. So like if jump dash opcode was not there, the jump was not possible. Okay. Now after making the jump, we just pop. We pushed 04. Call data size is the size of call data, which is 24. Then it will check less than value. Then push 36. Again jump. Push 0. Call data load. Now you can see from this position is the part where I showed you previously. Push, call data, push, right shift, duplicate, push 4. So if you take the full data and do this thing, you will always get the same output. I took a fragment to explain it in a better way, but this is what Ethereum does. It just takes the call data and it takes all the opcodes. It just do a function matching first. When the function is matched, then it do the function logic, and then the function logic is done, it returns the input or stored whatever it wants to do. So let's go again. Then we push duplicate. Now here we have got a jump I. Now this jump I wants us to make a jump to 59. We are going to make jump onto the 59. Then we are pushing 73, 04, duplicate, call data, subtract. So what we are doing here is we are storing 10 onto the blockchain. So we have got the function logic location which is at 59th offset here. So this is how function selector thing works. After that, like, this is the most basic way I explained you this thing. If you want to learn more about it, you can go through the EVM yellow paper. 41 पेज का है, हर पेज में 2 सेक्शन है, which means 82. So सारी चीज़ें उसमें given है. Alright, so we already tried it out on EVM codes, and thank you. Any questions? Slides will be shared onto the Discord, and this thing may or may not be coming onto the recruitments.